Hello once again, this is Orion Syndicate 910. Thanks for watching. I recently viewed an Onision video where he talks about American gun violence, and he refers to firearms as machines of death. He wants to ban all firearms from the United States. Well, good luck with that. You have about as much chance of that happening as landing a man on the sun. But as is typical of him, he doesn't want to discuss the issue with people who disagree with him. He only wants to discuss the issue with people who agree with him. So if you disagree with him, he says you're supporting machines of death, and he doesn't want to talk to you. That's typical Onision behavior. As is also typical of him, he doesn't really give you the complete picture of the real rate of gun-related violence in America in urban versus rural areas. In urban areas, you have a higher incidence of gun-related crimes being committed, but a very low percentage of households in urban areas actually possess firearms. Alright? But in rural areas, the countryside, like my family is predominantly farmers and ranchers, rural areas you have a higher percentage of households with firearms, but typically a very low rate of firearms-related crimes. Now, on the flip side of that same issue, you have a higher incidence of firearms-related suicides in rural areas, but a lower percentage of firearm suicides in urban ones. So that's a relatively complete picture right there. So, more people owning guns in a given area does not always mean more crime. Wyoming, for example, reports 1 out of every 3 homes in the state of Wyoming has loaded and unlocked guns. But Wyoming's crime rate is actually very low. It's only slightly higher than that of Canada. So more guns does not always mean more crime. Now, urban areas saw a spike in firearms crimes, especially back when crack cocaine first arrived in this country back in the 80s and 90s. That's when you saw an increase, a very sudden and dramatic increase in firearms crimes as drug gangs fought each other and the police on the streets of our cities. That's when you saw more gun-related crimes in this country. And gangs are really cited as one of the major sources of firearms-related crimes in the United States. But Onision's not going to talk about that. He's not going to go and say bad things about the gangs in our country. He's not going to go and condemn crack cocaine, because condemning crack cocaine is like condemning Satan. You know, it's pretty much a done deal right there. But he's not going to go and speak out against gangs and gang memberships and gang activities, because he's afraid of gangs, and he's afraid of the gangs, you know, coming after him in such case if they ever decide to. So he's not going to do that. He's going to take the safe route and condemn guns, which is a pretty safe political position to have. You're not likely to get people knocking on your door in the middle of the night saying, "What are you saying bad things about guns for?" Now, in my family, as I said, being predominantly farmers and ranchers, we are around firearms all the time. Mostly rifles and shotguns, although some of us owned handguns. And these were used to protect our property, either from wild animals like feral dogs, occasionally wolves. People out west had coyote problems, as well as poachers and rustlers. Family ranches down south in Texas and Oklahoma occasionally had people try to steal their cattle. So those weapons had that purpose, but also they were used more often for hunting, especially when times got bad and you had to hunt to feed your family, or you feed a relative's family or a neighbor's family, something like that. And I've gone on hunting expeditions with relatives and friends because someone was having a hard time, and we went out to bring down a deer or wild boar to help them through their tough times, put food on their table. And one time we did go out and hunt down a pack of feral dogs that was rampaging through an area and had been killing a farmer's livestock. So we had to go out and hunt down this pack of feral dogs, and I brought down a feral dog myself, and I caught him on a run, and he was just running, and I saw him, and I brought up my rifle, fired once, and brought him down. I felt bad about that because not so much the fact that I had killed the dog, but because the dog had once belonged to someone, and then that person had either let him get loose or had simply turned him loose. We had people occasionally driving through the state on their way up north or on their way down south, and they didn't want to take the dog with them, so they would stop by the side of the road and let their dog out and abandon him or her to fend for themselves. And this is where a lot of feral dogs actually come from in this country. People abandoning them. Rather than having the guts to take them to the vet and have the vet euthanize them, they just abandon the dog to take care of themselves. And the dogs go feral if they survive, and then it's left up to the people in that area to have to hunt the dog down and kill it. Because once a dog turns feral, there's no going back. Once a dog goes feral, that's it. And I am never short of the anger I feel when I hear about people who have abandoned their dogs and the dog has turned feral. I'm angry at the person than I am about the dog. And I'm certainly not mad at people who kill the dogs. It's just something that has to be done. Wolves, I don't support wolf hunting at all. Unless the wolves are becoming a problem to the farmers or the ranchers in the area, I don't support this. Like in Alaska, they have helicopters going out and just shooting down wolves. If the wolves aren't bothering people, and most of the time they don't, I personally say leave them alone. The same thing with coyotes. Coyotes really are not typically a problem. When they become a problem, yeah, you can pick off a couple here and there, but otherwise you should just leave them alone. And I'm certainly not in favor of trophy hunting, like people who go around hunting down elephants just to bring down an elephant, or hunting down a zebra just to kill a zebra. If you're not going to eat it, leave it alone, because it's not bothering you. In our house, we occasionally would have deer heads hanging on the walls, and if you had a deer head hanging on the wall, if you didn't eat that deer, the rest of it, you're going to hear from it. Because when you bring back a deer, you better bring back more than just the damned head. So that is really where our perspective is. That firearms are like tools, like your hammers, your power saws, screwdrivers. They had a specific use or set of uses. You learn how to use them properly so you don't injure yourself or other people. You took care of them so that they would always be able to function properly, because if they broke, you'd have to either buy a new one or fix the one you had. And in some of the places that my family lives in the South, firearms are not cheap, especially the good ones. So it's not something, to me, I look at and think, well, guns are the source of all of our problems. The old cliche is guns don't kill people, people kill people. That is true. And stupid people who don't know anything about firearms end up sometimes shooting themselves or other people. And people whose kids get a hold of their handguns because they left it in the nightstand and the kid shoots themselves by accident is because the parents didn't teach the kid anything about guns. That's really where a lot of these problems come from. The parents buy a gun, they don't teach the kid anything about firearms, and the kid takes it out of simple curiosity and then ends up shooting themselves. So, Onision, dude, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're getting on this really easy soapbox to get on and say, let's ban all guns and it'll solve all of our gun problems. It won't. Good luck with that, because, again, you're taking the coward's position. You only want to talk to people who agree with you. You can't get into an intelligent discussion with people who disagree with you. And overall, you're a freaking coward. This is Orion Syndicate 910. Thanks for watching.